Okay, we're live. Oh my gosh, it's official. I'm on Substack. That's crazy. Okay. Let me get myself together real quick. Okay. All right. I guess we have one viewer. Hello. All right. Let's get to it because we have two people here. So wonderful. Welcome to episode 12 of my show, Beyond Clothes. Good evening. I should have started with that. But we started this show on Twitch and then we transitioned over to YouTube. And now I have brought it home here to Substack just to kind of have everything under one roof. So, yes. So what is Beyond Clothes? So the idea of Beyond Clothes is this is a space where we dig into conversations around fashion, but we go beyond trends, micro aesthetics, and photos of outfits. So this is my first time on Substack. So you know, um, we'll get into it more. But yeah, we look at the heart. Well, it's just me, one man show. But I look at the heart, the memory, and the storytelling of every single outfit and every single piece of clothing. And as a reminder that it's not just clothes that we wear, but it's a complete story behind every single outfit. So, as my blog, DanDan Says, has been active since May, but fun fact for everybody on Substack, we are currently in our fourth recreation of the blog, which is huge because this is my most consistent and successful one. So, whoop, whoop. But that's just kind of proof to show that as you evolve and grow as a person, that your creative work evolves with you and it will continue to do so. And not every version of you exists behind the work. Sometimes you do have to rebrand. So yeah, we do change. So that leads me to the first segment, the writer. Oh, I forgot to say this, but I separate this show in 3 segments. So we have the writer, the paradigm, and the wardrobe. So now going into the first segment, the writer. Our topic of discussion is DanDan Says and the storytelling of fashion. So just to kind of give our Substack crowd a little bit of information and kind of a little bit of background on what is DanDan Says for those of you that may not know. So I'm going to be referencing a blog that I actually have currently out called DanDan Says, a place beyond clothes. See what I did there? Yeah. So I've always referred to myself with my friends, and I don't know if some of them are in this chat, but if they are, hey y'all. But I have been calling myself the fashion alchemist for a while, probably a few years now. The reason why is just because I refuse to fit into trend boxes. I don't think I have a set aesthetic, honestly. Yeah, I don't. Sorry. But and I choose to continue to create and build from intuition, living in authenticity, and honoring who I am in every decision that I make, and in every piece that I write. Seriously, go check some of them out because I poured my heart and soul into there. But yes, the purpose and the reason why I did this is because I wanted to remind or kind of serve as a reminder that fashion is humanity's storyteller, one of the oldest storytellers in the world that we have recorded. And clothing is not just content to consume, but every single garment that we have is evidence that someone was here, someone created imagination, or someone created their imagination in person through this garment. We also see clothing as a representation of major rebellions around the world, around different ethnicities, different countries, and outfits and certain symbols can represent those rebellions as well. So we keep that in mind, and that certain pieces and clothing can also carry memory. So for those of you that can't let go of that piece of jewelry, that t-shirt, or if your dad can't throw away that hat that he probably should have gotten rid of years ago, there's a reason why. And I'm also here to challenge people and everyday consumers of fashion, because there's nothing wrong with being a consumer, just be mindful. But instead of asking when did fashion stop asking questions, I'm asking the audience, when did we stop asking? And we traded, as a society as a whole, we started to trade genuine storytelling through clothing and through the slow processes and creative moments, for fast paced digital momentum. So, if you think this is a place where we're going to go fast, bangle shake on that, it is not, my friends. It is not. We're gonna take our time. But yes. So DanDan Says, and me, DanDan is a nickname that I've had since I was a little kid. Little did I know, it's a Taino name. Symbolizing someone, it's like a Caribbean name that symbolizes someone who has a natural sense of style. So, Dad, if you're watching, that's on you, dude. Seriously, that's on you. So I'm just living out my prophecy. But yes, DanDan and the platform DanDan Says serves and exists as a gentle reminder to the fashion industry of the soul and the humanity that it has currently forgotten. As especially with the digital momentum, we can get into that, a little later on. And with the storytelling, and a gentle reminder, I'm going to give you guys one. I will be covering different events upcoming here, in DC for DC Fashion Week. So whoop, whoop. It's going to be at the end of September, the 25th through the 27th, I believe. So I will be there, and tickets are available now. This is not sponsored. This is just a place to talk about fashion. So, yes. Will some of you meet me there? I don't know, but I hope you do. So now that leads me into segment 2. So we're going to take a little pivot. Yes, this has to do with Monday's blog, but it's not so much about me anymore, but it is about my generation, Gen Z. We need to have a conversation. And for those of you that are not Gen Z, you are welcome to this conversation. It's an open conversation about adulthood. So the topic of discussion is Monday's blog, Who Gets to Be Young? And that blog was based off of the current cultural shift, how Gen Z and a few millennials, not too many of you, but we're going to be unpacking how the lines between childhood, adolescence, and adulthood have been completely blurred, in modern fashion. So, first and foremost, I do want to say, or kind of discuss, the death of the tween era. So, just to I want to reflect on the tween era, and I think all of us, no matter what, intergenerationally, we've all had a tween era. Okay. It is a sacred space between being a kid and being an adult. So think of all the corny TV shows, corny cartoons, any specific stores for my people out there. Remember Claire's? Because I know you do. I know you do. Most of us got our ears pierced at Claire's. And tween culture. So things like High School Musical, I'll get into that in a second. Put a pin on that. But it's visually disappeared. And kids now more than ever, we've been thinking, and seeing that they're rushing towards adulthood and adult aesthetics, because we have to realize that adulthood is itself is suffering from self-infantilization, specifically throughout the generation mine, Gen Z. We have conversations like adulting. We also have conversations, open conversations, which are good, about the difficulties of adulthood currently, especially in the current climate. But that does not negate our doing in the disappearance of tween culture, because when a 13-year-old and a 27-year-old are being targeted and can wear the same exact aesthetics, without missing a beat, We have to stop asking why are the kids growing up so fast and start asking why has adulthood become so difficult to recognize, right? Um, that's tea. Okay, that is tea. And it's not to necessarily say that you have to kill off your inner child, or anything like that. However, when transitioning into adulthood, we as Gen Z and even future generations have done the same thing. You have to stop recycling your own childhood over and over and over for the next generation and allow these current generations to have their own thing and create their own meaning on what their adolescence looks like, because with every generation it's looked completely different. And with the current digital, we live in a digital age. All of us know that. Look, you guys are watching me off of your phone, a computer, wherever you are in the world. You guys are watching me right now. And with that being said, we as the adults, my birthday was on Tuesday, y'all, and I turned 28. But I am not in my prime yet. Hello. I'm just getting started. But but even that in and of itself, it's a certain realization that at some point, instead of handing our inner child the credit card to go shopping and go wild, we need to honor our inner child by being the adult that's responsible enough for taking care of them. And that leads me to segment 3, the wardrobe. So the topic of discussion under this segment is I'm going to be discussing dressing for life transitions without losing your inner child, and dressing for where you are, because fashion, in a past life, in a very recent past life, used to showcase the clear boundaries of, when you enter a new stage of adulthood, whether you enter childhood, things like that. And so I kind of want to talk about a little bit of those things, and how entering adulthood doesn't necessarily mean abandoning who you were, but it just means elevating how you express yourself. And you can still elevate patterns. Yes, great point. See, thank you. I love a good cosign. Thank you. Hey Nakaya. But yes, it's transitioning your wardrobe, and that transition is about aligning yourself with the adult you've always dreamed of being, not erasing the inner child and who you were completely. Because we all have to agree with every single transition in life, we don't completely kill off a complete past version of ourselves. We honor them through that change. And so I kind of want to talk about method dressing, persona, and high couture, and how we can get inspiration from high couture. Because, you know, I don't have 10 grand yet to spend on a gown yet, but we are manifesting it and it will happen soon. I don't know how soon, but soon, as soon as soon. Y'all heard it here first. You hear me? Yes, but I want to talk about Robert Wan's Child's Play Couture, and how Robert Wan was one of the designers this past couture week, who honored inner child play, and took it seriously rather than literally copying children's clothing, which a lot of times we tend to see a mimic of childhood when honoring, I guess, youth, question mark, point to think about even for myself. But he took playful motifs like balloons, fairy tale tropes, and stuffed rabbits, and crayon doodles, and he executed them through master level designing, and through breathtaking couture tailoring. Because if you've seen some of the tailoring on that work, if you haven't, go check it out after this live. Or if you can multitask, we could do that too. Yeah, we can do that. But he is one of the designers from this past couture week that showed us that you can still hold on to a sense of childlike wonder, but it can be done with a deep sense of artistic maturity. And speaking of Nakaya, your outfit, if you, for those of you that don't know, she is the owner and founder of N3 Styles, but she did an outfit for Charlotte's Met Gala inspired event. I'm sorry, I can't English. But she did a look where she utilized geometric shapes and actually brought a frame with her to utilize artwork. And that's a way to incorporate child's like a sense of childlike wonder and play into an adult mature aesthetic. So thank you for being on this live, because that was a great example. Live examples, y'all. Live examples. I also want to talk about Daniel Roseberry at Schiaparelli and the theme, The Call of the Void. And Roseberry reminded us that surrealism and play aren't necessarily childish, and they don't have to be. They are tools often for art and high fashion. Think about one of the most famous surreal artists of all time, Vincent van Gogh. Children are, you wouldn't automatically think that they would be studying surrealism art. However, they should be encouraged because it helps the brain. Look it up. But Roseberry channeled visceral emotion and fantasy through sculpted anatomies and dreamlike silhouettes. It was honestly one of my favorite shows out of all the couture weeks. The use of the human body, even nature, florals, it was amazing. So I'm a fan. Big fan. And then we got to see Zendaya sporting it. But before I jump too far, let's keep going. But yeah, he really created a wardrobe that spoke to a sense of mature imagination. And then we have the one and only Pier Paolo I forgot. I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay, I am not French, but Piccoli. I'm sorry. But the creative director for Balenciaga, I'm sorry. I don't speak Francais or Italian. I'm Hispanic. But but his debut returned Balenciaga back to its couture roots. Balenciaga would be proud of that collection. I'm telling you. All fashion magazines have co-signed that. I'm pretty sure all fashion historians and lovers of couture can also agree that he really did bring it home. And he showed that adult sophistication can still be vibrant, romantic, full of joyful color without necessarily sacrificing elegance or structure. And again, we can take inspirations from these couture fashion weeks and these elements and apply it to our outfits. So for instance, my outfit right now, it is an example. Why? Because when I was a kid, and I would show you baby pictures, but I feel like that's very invasive of my privacy. So I'm not gonna do that. But I used to wear a lot of prints and patterns when I was a kid, and you can ask my mother. I always dressed myself. I hated what people used to pick out for me. If it was too basic, I had to throw in a little something extra, and it makes a lot of sense for the way I dress today. So yeah, just an example. Next pairing, I want to talk about the style duo La Roche and Zendaya for not just the Odyssey press tour, but also for the Spider-Man press tour that we've seen. The method dressing, taking fantasy a narrative and youthful components and literally showcasing them in some of the most gagging out red carpet looks we have ever seen. Okay. And if you disagree, I'm not gonna agree to disagree. I'm just gonna remain silent. But yes, but yes, the tailoring, the fitting, especially for the if you haven't seen it, go see it. But every single look that they've put on that carpet for both the Odyssey and the Spider-Man press tour for every single brand was completely on point. And I think that a lot of stylists really do need to kind of take a few notes, more than a few notes, respectfully speaking, from that duo and from that pairing, and how that symbiosis between client and stylist or image architect in this case for La Roche, that symbiotic relationship can really be something beautiful. So do that with yourself. Style challenge. But yes, so how to apply some of these elements to your wardrobe is play versus performance. So you don't necessarily need to wear micro trends to stay creative and to be fashionable. If you hear that fire truck, I'm sorry. I live in the city. What do you want me to do? Uh if you didn't hear it, great. That means this microphone is really good. Yes. But back to it. Play versus performance. And that micro trends don't always necessarily mean creativity or being fashion forward. Hot take, or not so hot take. But playfulness comes from texture. It also comes from unexpected silhouettes and color balance and personal storytelling. So every single element of your outfit should complement and never truly contradict. And shout out to my visual mentor. Love you down, miss him. And another element that we can apply is the one whispering element. That was the transition. I just couldn't think of the word. But you should always balance. If you're going to be nostalgic, I don't have a problem with nostalgia. But if you're going to pick nostalgia as the element of your outfit, make sure that you have some grounding elements that elevate that sense of nostalgia. So necessarily, let's say if you pick a graphic T-shirt or a piece with a childlike playfulness or a bright fantasy, you have to anchor it with a structured, elevated adult silhouette. Whatever that silhouette looks like to you, you could wear some pants with Goofy on it. Who knows? Your choice. But you have to incorporate that adult grounded element in order to elevate that outfit. It could be tailored. It could be tailored pants, crisp coats, or accessories that honestly speak to you that could also play into the color of the into the outfit. So the real goal of getting dressed, you have to understand what that is. I can't tell you what that is because it's something different for everybody. Growing up isn't necessarily about becoming an adult. I mean, adult. You don't have to be dull. Why? Because you don't. I don't know. You don't have to let your clothing doesn't always have to reflect the wisdom and what you've gone through. You don't have to look like what you've gone through. Let me rephrase that. Because you don't. You can allow your sense of wisdom, the things that you've learned, your childlike wonder, and the parts of yourself that have remained through everything and every version of yourself. And you can reflect that into your outfit and still remain poised. So I know that kind of went into the last points, but that's okay. Um, so as one of my favorite fashion icons, Diana Vreeland, once said, fashion must be the most intoxicating release from the banality of the world. And if now this is me, DanDan, if we continue to reward banality and the confusion of identity, we lose the fantasy. Seriously, fashion doesn't always have to reflect real life. Where's the fantasy? Get me to escape somewhere but here. I know what it's like to live in the real world. Just saying. Not to call out too many brands. Just saying. But when you step into your authenticity, getting dressed can become an act of coming home to yourself. And I think we should remember that every time we put on even your favorite pair of shoes. Who knows? Every single element in your wardrobe tells a story and it is a reflection of who you are. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 12 of Beyond Clothes. All of the other 11 episodes are on YouTube. DanDan Says. If you'd like, it's in the link in my Substack bio where you can watch all of the previous episodes if you liked what you saw. Let's make sure to subscribe to the actual Substack, DanDan Says, where you can join me on Monday for a new blog and for next week's topic of conversation. And you can also read a few of the blogs if you've missed it. You can also check out some of the conversation pieces that I also have. My name is Alexis, aka DanDan, and I say, while you don't have to get off the internet, you do have to get off this live. This has been another episode of Beyond Clothes, and thank you. Bye bye.